Alumni Corner. This is the second episode, and today I'm here with Dr. Wanita Mercer. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here.
Of course, this is a great interview to do because you are a three times graduate.
I am.
From UIW. You spent 10 years here at the school. I think that's the most that we've ever had on the show.
Wow, okay.
You clearly loved it at UIW. Yes. What did you love so much?
I love the community here. I love the spirituality here that's really in alignment with my values. And the professors, I really got a chance to have personal relationships with them and really get to just cultivate myself here, I think, in my own personal growth. So I loved it.
So let's go back to your bachelor's,
yes,
which you got in fashion management.
I did.
And you actually produced a couple of fashion shows here in San Antonio, which you won awards for.
Yes.
Where did the kind of fashion interest spark from?
As a little girl, I would draw and come up with cute, outfits for my dolls using my mother's stockings. So, I think for me, it was a part of that. I also would see my sister draw. In fact, I always thought my sister would do something like that, and she didn't. So I think between her and art, and my grandmother was a sewer, and or a seamstress rather. I think it was just kind of innately around me a lot that it was something that I wanted to pursue. Yeah.
And then you went on to get your master's in something completely different, communication arts. And
yes,
throughout your career, you've been doing public speaking events.
I have.
You took part in She Speaks, or Her Speaks. No, She Talks.
She
Talks, sorry.
In China.
Yes, you did. And you were one of 5 speakers. When you kind of get put in those situations where you're speaking in front of a lot of people, what do you kind of draw back from that you learned here at UIW in the communication arts department?
The importance of telling your story. So in the communication arts department, actually my master's was in administration, and then my focus was in communication arts. So I did wanted to make that clarification. But one of the courses that really stood out to me was actually about movies. And learning the importance of storytelling and how you use different aspects of videography and lighting and all these different parts that come together to tell a really great story. And so for me, I took aspects of that, understanding that it's not just what I say, but how I say it, tonation, the way I present myself, how I show up, but also realizing that the most important part was to just be myself. I've always believed that what comes from the heart reaches the heart. Yeah. And that's always going to leave the lasting impression that you're looking for anytime you speak.
And then you're moving on to your master's, your PhD,
yes,
which you got in education, and you were the youngest in the program.
Yeah, one of them.
Yes, and your dissertation was known to be statistically sound, outstanding. Talk us through what your dissertation was about and how you kind of put it together.
Yeah, so my dissertation was looking at workplace spirituality and how did it affect change and people's readiness for change in organizations. For me, I had always had a passion towards understanding spirituality, but within the context of organizations and places where we don't normally talk about that, and it's important. And what my study found was that people who experience higher levels of spirituality, meaning a sense of community and engagement with their work, from a sense of calling, they were more ready for change. They had less apprehension towards change, more positive attitudes, all of that, the things that we look for. Because one thing you can be certain of in organizations is that people are going to face change. And most organizations don't successfully do that, change well. And so that was a big piece that I continue to use in my work today, honestly, and what I teach with regards to leadership and the importance of workplace spirituality in organizational development.
And then you went to China. You did mention it when you had your big She Talks event.
Yes.
But you were there 4 years.
No, so I was only living there a year and a half.
Oh, okay.
Interesting story. The short version is, came home to visit my family and the pandemic hit.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have a chance to go back. But I continued to teach online.
Oh, I see, yeah.
For another 2.5 years. So I did teach fully 4 years in China. Doctoral students, graduate students, and undergrad students.
Was that such a rewarding moment of your career, being able to give back to students from being in school for 10 years?
Yes, it was. I love teaching. And I think for me, and I really get moved when I think about it, how they called me teacher. And you see it here too, but the way that they called me teacher was it was like a term of endearment, really, in a way that it's not used here. It kind of I've always thought about what the disciples said about Christ. You know, they called him teacher. And the importance of the role that we have in shaping people's lives. And so just the opportunity to give back to that in an international community. And literally, also, I got a chance to teach like 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
I got a chance to teach medical doctors, medical English on their way to doing a mission in the Kingdom of Tonga. So I had incredible
Such a big spectrum.
Yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't have planned it better, right? It was such a blessing and gift to my life.
Would you want to go back to China because it was cut short?
No. Only because there's been a lot of changes.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily want to get into it all here, but I do feel personally that I experienced the best that China had to offer, which was remarkable the time that I was there.
Yeah.
But there are also some things that I saw during my time here in conversations and seeing the news and knowing what people were experiencing during the pandemic that kind of made me say, ooh, I'm glad I'm not there.
Yeah.
But I think regardless, the way I see it is that I have an assignment. And the assignment that I had in China, I completed it.
Yeah, that's lovely. And then you came back, and then Lead My Heart was born in 2022. For those who don't really know much about Lead My Heart, tell them what it is.
So Lead My Heart is my company, and it really is my heart regarding leadership. Really born from my doctoral studies in workplace spirituality, spiritual leadership, and understanding that you're not just leading people, beings, employees, right, who you want to do a job, but you're leading spiritual beings. And as spiritual beings, we all have a desire for calling and community, mission membership, however you want to look at it, purpose and purposeful partnerships, right? And so as leaders, my belief and the data shows that when you cultivate those things in people, they give so much back, right? And it's looking to how you can and encourage people to be a part of something bigger and meaningful. And so through Lead My Heart, I work with executives and founders and board members and to really cultivate that heart that they have for leadership, honestly, and how they serve people and knowing that it's going to come back to them. But I bring a holistic perspective to executive coaching in a way that most people don't, whereby I do life coaching and leadership coaching together.
And you've only been around for 2 years.
Yes.
Near it's 2024 now.
Still building.
Yes, exactly. It's not been founded for very long. But what's your secret to success? Because you've had a great improvement in the 2 years. How have you maintained that success?
I would say first be yourself. And when I first came out with Lead My Heart, my branding looked very bland. It was like kind of like what I saw other people doing, you know, it really
like professional.
Yes, but really wasn't me. And God talked to me and he was like, this is you. Like, why are you shying away from your face, putting yourself out there when this is the vision I gave you? And I was like, well, because, you know, I don't necessarily want to be in the forefront, right?
Yeah.
But then I changed my branding completely. You know, I put my face out there and I was like, I'm black and white and a pop of color. And so that's my branding.
That pop of color really comes around. I know. I need the whole the lipstick, it's that shade of purple. And I think when people see that color, they'll think of you.
Yes.
And I think that's what's so great about how you've had that success in the 2 years.
And it really changed. I saw people respond to that.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not also branding typically in alignment with like executive coaching and, you know, professional, all this stuff. But it's like, it doesn't have to be like, it's me.
Yeah.
You know, and I am bringing something different to this field that people aren't doing. And so does it take a little bit more time to teach people that and realize that, no, I'm not doing corporate training, no, I'm not doing, it's something so much bigger than that? Yeah, but.
And throughout your journey, so you're a CEO, you've been a teacher, and you've also added author to the list.
What, author?
Yes. And we've actually got a couple of your books here. The first one, The Man You Need to Marry. Tell us about how this came about.
Oh gosh, so this is my answered prayer. I'm single and still waiting, right? And so one day I was like saying, God, like, I know my list isn't the list I should be looking for, right? Does he have this? Does he have that, right? What kind of job does he have? Those are nice things, but I realized that to have a marriage like my parents of 45 years, right? And my sister and her husband have been married for 20 years. Like, what a blessing, right? I saw my grandparents married for over 60 years. So it's like to see marriages last like that in a society where you don't see that, it's like you got to get to the root of what it is that you're really looking for. And so God showed me, he said, think about Jesus and the encounters that he had with 7 women in the Bible, women who were unmarried, and the love that he demonstrated towards them. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it just touched my heart in such a way. I was like, I have to share this. So this is what it is. It's a devotional journal looking at those different encounters that Christ had with those women. But it also speaks to insecurities that women often have in relationships. Will there be a man who can love me, you know, even with my health condition or with my past, you know, with the things that I still struggle with, the things that I'm insecure about? Yeah.
And then you've got your second one here. Yes. This has just come out. This is more of a workbook. Tell us about this one.
Yes, it is. So this is the first, as you see, LMH, right?
Yes.
This is
and the color, the purple.
Yes. This is the first book under my brand for my company, Lead My Heart, which I'm super excited about. This is a it talks about 12 dimensions of wellness. So a lot of times people just think about mental, emotional, physical. That's great, but there's so much more to think about and consider. And so when we're talking about vision, establishing mission, and what you're pursuing, are you creating the time and space to think about all areas of how you can not only do well in your organization, do well in life, but how you serve people as well? And so it's bringing attention to that. But then even in the first part of the book, and you see it's like so many like strategies and things in here that I'm teaching people how to use. As a matter of fact, I'm promoting a workshop right now called The Well.
Okay.
And The Well is the executive wellness and vision workshop that goes with this book to teach leaders how to utilize the strategies in this book for life and leadership.
And you can get them on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Both of these are, well, this was on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. This one's just on Amazon. But yes, people can go purchase.
That's great. Everyone should go do that. And last bit, a piece of advice, especially for the women who are graduating. Myself, I'm graduating in May. For those who are willing to work hard and are career driven, what would you kind of tell them? I would say don't shun opportunities simply because they're not what you thought they would look like. Okay. That's how I got to China. Yeah. At first I was thinking like, let me tell you what the offer was. The offer was, come teach English to maybe little kids, maybe college kids. We don't know. It just depends. Even though my heart was like, I just want to teach college, right? Because in my mind, I was thinking very pridefully, I have a PhD. What do I look like going to China and teaching 3-year-olds, right? Like, what is that? What? Who does that? But God taught to me, and I was really moved to be open, to the opportunity. And because I was open and humble and said, I'm just going to go, and wherever my assignment is, I'm going to do it with my whole heart, it was phenomenal. Right? The experiences that I had and the people I got to teach and things I got to do and experience, I never expected that. Yeah. But I went with an open heart and mind. And I think that's where we have to stay. You know, open to possibilities, be humble. Yeah. And no matter what opportunity lies before you, give it your best. Yeah. Like, show up with everything you've got. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I think that's a really great message. Just whatever opportunity you have, do it, and do it 110%. Yeah. I think that's really important. And thank you for sitting down with me today. I really enjoyed talking to you about your journey. And good luck for the future. I'm sure Lead My Heart will have many more successes. Yes, thank you so much, and I pray it's all great for you. Thank you. And thank you guys for watching me with Dr. Wanita Mercer today. But join us after the break. We're going to be talking and sitting down with Nate Rodriguez.
Matt and Leland are out at the arcade. Maybe we should go join them.
Sure.
Let's go.
Okay. I Adam, put your hands back on the wheel.
Oh, like this?
No!
Oh, I'm sorry.
Actually on the wheel.
I'm sorry.
Should you be smoking while driving?
Yeah, they've been doing it since the 60s. It's 1985.
I don't think that's safe. Out on the road!
Distracted driving. It's always been a problem, even in the 80s. For more information on distracted driving, visit www.nhtsa.gov.
Welcome back to UIW Alumni Corner. I'm here with alumnus Nate Rodriguez. Thank you very much for coming on.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm excited.
I want to kind of talk about your UIW journey. You were here for 5 years and you graduated in 2022. How were those 5 years for you, Nate?
Oh man, those 5 years were definitely a eye-opening experience. Looking back, I honestly don't think I'd be where I'm at without those 5 years. You know, meeting the people that I met within my professors, building those connections with my peers. You know, I think everything has really set up, you know, everything for my career path and, you know, just kind of being able to grow it within that. So I definitely think that those 5 years were extremely, extremely needed and useful, for sure.
And during those 5 years, in 2020, you were a teaching assistant for marketing, communication arts department. How was that to kind of be on the teacher side, and what did you learn from that point of view?
Honestly, it was just so eye-opening. Working closely with the students, kind of being on the teaching end, you know, with Dr. Carbajal through her event planning courses and a couple of other courses as well, I was able to really kind of see the struggles as a student. You know, I went through them myself, and being able to see them kind of on the outside looking in, I was able to learn how to work with individuals, you know, that I typically wouldn't say that I would work with besides myself. And with that being said, you know, I was able to get a very eye-opening experience that allowed me to understand individuals on a personal level as well as like a team building level. And I think that really set me up within my career also, because building connections through media, you know, it's one of those things where everybody's kind of on the same page, but, you know, you don't know exactly what you're gonna, you know, be working on together. And so I think that being able to understand those differences really kind of, you know, helped with that.
And when you were here at UIW, and even now when you're working, you're really trying to improve skills, your photography skills, videography, social media, communications, all sorts. What kind of experiences did you have at UIW that you were able to take advantage of that other students watching can do as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I took every opportunity that I possibly could. Working as a TA, volunteering, trying to do photography work here within the communication arts department, as well as working for the admissions office also. You know, I took every opportunity that I possibly could. I worked, you know, my tail off, you know, just to kind of build a portfolio and a resume that really resonated with who I was as an individual. Within the courses too that I took here at UIW, I, you know, really kind of focused in on building a solid base and foundation through digital literacy, TV journalism, broadcast journalism, so that way I can transition over into the, you know, the career field. And so, you know, with that being said, I definitely did not shy away from opportunity. And I think that that's something that a lot of students and a lot of, you know, individuals can, you know, really lean into. Just take every opportunity that you possibly can.
What kind of student were you, Nate?
So I would say that I was a go-getter, specifically in the sense that I was in my middle of my college years when COVID hit. And so, of course, everything went remote. And so while a lot of students were, you know, taking a step back, you know, maybe kind of reevaluating their time as a college student, I ended up going forward and pushing on. I ended up enrolling into the ABM program, which is the Advanced Bachelors to Master's degree program. And within that, I went for both my grad and my undergrad within communication arts. And so I think that, you know, within that whole time, I definitely saw myself as somebody who just took the opportunity and just ran with it.
So in 2022, you graduated. Post-graduation, you stayed in San Antonio, and now you're working here in the Express News, and you're doing some things, social media marketing, contract work, stuff like that. How was that? Tell us about that.
Honestly, it was definitely eye-opening. I think that it's kind of also where the, you know, building upon that, you know, go-getter mindset, because there was some times where job opportunities were scarce and I had like no contracts, and there was times where I had like 3 or 4 contracts. And so, you know, I always was trying to make it to a point where I could establish myself as an individual within the field of media. And, you know, through this program, Clutch, I was actually able to build connections and start contracting for the San Antonio Express News. And from there, the relationships that I built, you know, they became really strong. and they saw the type of work that I could create, and they wanted to push on with me. So from that point, I was able to, sustain a full-time position with them, and just continue to work and grow within the company.
You talk about a full-time position, that's content video producer. If you compare yourself now as that content video producer to freshman Nate, what would you say the biggest differences are?
Man, I would definitely say now Nate is definitely a truth teller, still along with the go-getter, but he's looking for that honesty. He's looking for that, sense of community and building upon within San Antonio. And what I mean by that is, right now there's a lot of, talk about news and how people view it. And especially within the city of San Antonio, I feel like there's still that connection or that disconnect. And I would say that, being the person that I am now, I want to be as honest and truthful as I possibly can. I want to, build upon the relationships that I've already, established within this field, and just really, dive into my community and allow them to see, that there is the truth out there, and it's for them also,
What advice would you give freshman Nate?
Oh, man. Keep pushing on. Mm-hmm. Times can get difficult. I know through those time periods, there was a lot where, there was doubt, but, continue to strive, continue to build upon it, and don't ever miss opportunities, because like I said, I did my best to not pass up opportunities. But there was those instances where I look back and I'm like, I wonder what would have happened if, I took those. And so within that, I would definitely say that, take every opportunity.
Would some of that advice be to incorporate a notebook into your life? I know that about you, and I think it's really interesting. So tell us about your notebook.
Yeah, absolutely. So notebook is something I started a couple of years ago. And so within that, I had actually started to write down to-do list, grocery list, notes, creative ideas, just kind of everything across the board. We get so wrapped up in using our phones as our calendars, as our to-do list and everything like that, and that there's something just so satisfying about checking it off, a physical notebook. Ooh, excuse me. As you're writing it down, you get to sit there and really kind of remember, let it soak in, understand what you're trying to do or what you're trying to convey, that message. And so, with this, I also built creations, and just different, connections with individuals. I told you about a connection that I built with the car. Right before, we hopped on, I told you also about, a connection that I built with the coworker, at the office. And so with that, basically, I knew that photographer was busy. He's, shoots concerts and, hard news and things like that. So I didn't want to bother him. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up writing down a little note like, hey, I know we really haven't interacted much, but, I would love to see if we could chat sometime about getting some credentials, to go and shoot, at the Frost Bank Center or, other places like that. And so as soon as he got the note, I put it on his desk, he picked it up and slacked me right away. And he was like, yeah, man, like, let's set up a meeting sometime this week and, we'll get into it, and that way I can kind of walk you through things. And so there's something just so like satisfying about building this, because I feel like in the age of social media, everybody's just the DM. But, having that note, it feels more intimate, it builds that connection, and I think people appreciate it a little bit more, so definitely.
What were some key takeaways that you had at UIW in the Comm Arts program that helped you set up your future career path?
So the keys that I would say were probably my introductory courses, which was digital literacy, broadcast journalism, TV production, specifically in the sense that they helped me set up building blocks that I was able to kind of continuously grow within. I had a solid understanding of how things worked, through courses with Professor Coronado and Dr. Carbajal, that I was just able to continue to build on it. Outside of the class, I would you do research on YouTube and Google and kind of try to find different things and elements to kind of add to my tools. And within that, I was able to really hone in on them and transfer that over into my career now.
And you're working in San Antonio. What does the future look like for you? Do you plan to stay here, move out, carry on in news, photography? What does it look like?
So I definitely think that there's growth outside of San Antonio. Working for the Express News, I have learned to love my city all over again. But I do feel like there is a cap here within the city for myself. And there's other, organizations that I wish to grow in and kind of be a part of. lifestyle wise and content creation wise. And within those, you know, most of them are based within LA, New York City, Chicago, even abroad. And I know for me personally, I think that that's where I need to be in order to grow as an individual and grow within my field. So I think that, you know, the future looks bright within that sense of, you know, moving on from San Antonio, but maybe eventually coming back, you know, who knows, building, you know, something here that I've always had an idea of, little media, you know, type thing. But yeah, definitely growing, leaving, and then coming back for sure.
Well, great. Well, good luck for the future. Thank you for sitting down with me today.
Thank you. It was a
We
blast.
got to learn about you more. Thank you very much.
Of course.
And thank you guys for watching. Join us next time on UIW Alumni Corner.